The blind date Jack Turner had never liked blind dates. He was a simple man. A carpenter who preferred the smell of wood and paint to the sound of fancy restaurants or awkward small talk. Ever since his wife passed away, he had lived quietly in his small house by the forest, raising his 10-year-old daughter, Mia, the center of his world. To him, life was simple. Work. Take care of Mia, sleep, repeat. But to his best friend Sam, it was boring. "Jack, you're turning into an old man," Sam said one afternoon. Grinning, "You need to get out, meet someone. Maybe even smile for once." Jack rolled his eyes, sanding down a wooden frame. "I smile plenty. Usually when you leave," Sam laughed. "Come on, just one date. She's different." "You'll like her," Jack sighed, wiping his hands on his apron. "Different how?" Sam hesitated. "You'll see." That should have been his first warning. But he went anyway, mostly because Mia had overheard and begged him to go. "Dad, maybe you'll find someone nice, someone who makes you laugh again," she said, her big blue eyes hopeful. He couldn't say no to that face. So on Friday night, he put on his cleanest shirt, combed his hair, and drove into town. The restaurant was quiet. A little place called Emberlight Bistro, warm lights, soft music, couples laughing. It all felt a bit too much for him. He stood by the door, scanning the tables until he saw her. She was sitting near the window, tall, graceful, dressed in a dark red gown that shimmered like fire when she moved. Her hair was black with streaks of gold that seemed to glow under the light. And when she looked up, Jack froze. Her eyes. They weren't brown or green. They were golden, not the reflection of light. Not contacts. They were glowing, faintly but unmistakably. She smiled. "You must be Jack." Her voice smooth and calm. He nodded slowly, taking a seat across from her. Trying not to stare. Yeah, that's me," he said awkwardly. "I'm Lyra," she said, her tone soft but confident. "It's nice to finally meet you." The waiter came. They ordered dinner, and for a while, it almost felt normal. She asked about his work, about Mia, about the carvings he made. He talked about life in the small town, the quiet nights, the smell of pine. She listened with genuine interest, smiling at the right moments, asking gentle questions. But there was something strange about her. The way she moved. Too smooth, too precise, and every time she smiled, the temperature around them seemed to rise just a little. Halfway through the meal, a drop of wine spilled on her hand. The liquid sizzled, actually sizzled, turning to steam in an instant. Jack stared, eyes wide. "Did that just—" Lyra quickly grabbed a napkin. Covering her hand, her voice calm. "It's a reaction, nothing serious." He blinked, his mind racing. "A reaction? Wine doesn't evaporate like that." She looked at him, those golden eyes flickering faintly. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." Jack leaned back, uneasy. She was beautiful, kind, but something about her felt dangerous. He forced a laugh. "You're not secretly radioactive or something, right?" She smiled faintly. "Something like that." He felt the heat again. Not from the restaurant. But from her it was subtle, warm at first, then almost like sitting too close to a fire. Her gaze locked onto his, and for a moment, he felt something he couldn't explain. Fear and fascination all at once. He stood up suddenly, knocking over his napkin. I need to go." Lyra's expression didn't change, but her eyes dimmed. "You're leaving." He hesitated, guilt flickering in his chest. "You're amazing, really, but this isn't for me." Before she could speak, he turned and walked out, heart pounding. The night air was cold, almost biting, but he welcomed it. He drove home in silence, trying to convince himself that what he saw was just a trick of the light. When he reached home, Mia was waiting by the door in her pajamas, holding her stuffed dragon. "How was it?" "Dad," she asked eagerly. Jack forced a smile. "It was fine." "Did you like her?" Mia pressed. He sighed. "She was interesting." Mia tilted her head. "That means no, doesn't it?" Jack laughed softly. "Yeah, kiddo." "I don't think she's my type." Mia shrugged. "That's too bad," she said, walking back toward her room. "She sounds cool." Jack froze. "Wait, what do you mean?" "Sounds cool?" Mia turned, smiling innocently. "I met her." His eyes widened. What? She was standing outside when I took the trash out. She said she wanted to make sure you got home safe. Jack's blood ran cold. Mia, he said carefully. What did you say to her? Mia grinned. I told her she was awesome. Before Jack could respond, a faint glow filled the room, golden, warm, alive. The window shimmered, and outside, through the falling snow, he saw a tall figure standing by the trees. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, and when she smiled, the air around her rippled like heat. Jack stepped forward slowly, his heart racing. And then he heard it, a deep, low rumble beneath the ground, like something ancient awakening. Mia peeked over his shoulder, whispering softly, "Dad, she's back." The carpenter and the Dragon Jack Turner didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, staring at the forest where the woman with golden eyes had vanished. The snow had stopped falling, but the air still glowed faintly with the heat she had left behind. Every sound in the dark made his heart race. A crack of a branch, a whisper of wind. He tried to tell himself it was all in his head, that maybe he was tired or imagining things. But deep down, he knew he wasn't by morning. Mia bounced into the kitchen as if nothing had happened, her hair messy, her face bright. "Dad, can we make pancakes?" she asked. Grinning, Jack blinked, his voice rough. "You're not scared about last night?" Mia tilted her head. "Scared of what?" "That woman," he said quietly. "The one outside." "Oh, her," Mia said, pouring milk into the bowl. She wasn't scary. She smiled at me. Jack rubbed his temples. "Mia, normal people don't make the ground shake when they smile." Mia shrugged. "Maybe she's just strong," Jack sighed. Half amused, half worried. He didn't want to scare his daughter, but he also couldn't ignore what he'd seen after breakfast. He decided to fix the broken fence behind the house, partly to stay busy, partly to keep his mind off the night before. But as he worked, he felt something strange in the air. The wood under his hands was warm, warmer than sunlight should make it. He looked up and froze. Lyra was standing at the edge of the yard. Her dark red cloak moved softly in the wind, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the daylight. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she said quietly, "You ran away from me." Jack tightened his grip on the hammer. "You can't just show up at my house. I wanted to see if you were safe," she said, her voice calm, almost gentle. He frowned. "Safe from what?" Lyra looked toward the sky, her eyes darkening. "From those who follow my scent," he blinked. "Your scent?" she nodded. "You would call them hunters. They have been tracking me for months." Jack let out a nervous laugh. "Hunters like bounty hunters." Her gaze met his, serious and sad. "Like executioners." Before he could reply, Mia's voice called out from behind him. "Hi, Miss Lyra." Jack turned sharply. "Mia, get inside." But Lyra knelt down, smiling softly. "Hello again, little one." Mia ran to her, unafraid, holding out a small carved toy dragon that Jack had made. "I brought you this," she said proudly. "Dad made it." Lyra took the wooden dragon carefully, her fingers brushing over the smooth surface. For a second, her eyes softened, and something like warmth filled her face. "This is beautiful," she said softly. "You crafted this by hand?" Jack crossed his arms. "I'm a carpenter, that's what I do." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then perhaps the fates brought me to the right human." He frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" She stood, her cloak rippling like flame. "I need your skill." "Jack Turner." "Why me?" he asked. Lyra looked toward the horizon, where faint red clouds were gathering. "Because you can shape what others destroy," she said. "And there is something I must rebuild before it's too late." Jack opened his mouth to argue, but then he saw her hand, small scales glimmering on her wrist. In the sunlight, they looked like tiny gold mirrors, shifting as she moved. "You're not human," he said quietly. Lyra looked at him, not denying it. "No, I am not." She stepped closer, her presence warm, almost comforting. "My kind were once known as the Keepers of Flame," she said. "We protected the worlds from the cold void, but now we are hunted." One by one, Jack stared at her, speechless. "So what do you want from me?" he finally asked. Lyra reached into her cloak and pulled out a small, broken crystal that pulsed weakly. "This was once the heart ember," she said. "It keeps my fire balanced. Without it, my power will consume everything around me." Mia's eyes widened. "Like a big fiery sneeze?" Lyra smiled gently. "Something like that." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "And you think I can fix that?" "You can," she said confidently. "The core is not just crystal. It was grown with a living material. Something from your world. A kind of wood. From the forests of Earth," Jack blinked. "Wait. You're saying dragons, your kind, used earthwood to control your power?" Lyra nodded. "Long ago, before humans forgot the stars for a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the sound of the wind." Jack looked down at his workshop, then back at her. "So if I help you fix this thing," he said, "you'll leave, right?" Lyra hesitated. "Yes," she said softly, though her voice trembled just a little. Mia tugged her dad's sleeve. "Dad, you have to help her. She's nice." He sighed deeply. "I don't know about nice, but I'll take a look." Lyra's golden eyes brightened. "Thank you, Jack Turner." For the next few days, Jack worked in his shop. Lyra stayed nearby, sometimes helping, sometimes just watching. She learned about hammers and sawdust, about how humans use their hands to build instead of destroy. Mia followed her everywhere, asking endless questions. "Do you breathe fire? Do dragons sleep upside down?" Lyra laughed, her voice soft like music. "No, little one, not anymore." As the nights passed, the forest grew warmer, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Sometimes, Jack would wake to see Lyra standing outside, her cloak fluttering, her eyes reflecting the stars, and for the first time he didn't feel fear. He felt peace. But peace never lasts forever. One evening, as Jack fitted the crystal into a carved wooden frame, the ground suddenly trembled. Lyra froze, her golden eyes turning red. "They found me," she whispered. Jack stood quickly. "Who?" Lyra looked at the sky. A streak of black light cut through the clouds, followed by a low roar. "The hunters," she said, her voice heavy with dread. "They're here." Fire and blood. The night sky burned red over the forest. Lightning tore through the clouds, and the ground shook beneath their feet. Jack stood frozen for a moment, staring at the dark streaks in the sky that were getting closer. Lyra's voice broke the silence, calm but sharp. "Inside." "No!" She grabbed Mia's hand and pushed her toward the house. Jack ran after them, slamming the door shut, his heart pounding in his chest. The air was thick, the walls trembling. Outside, a sound like engines and thunder mixed together filled the air. Lyra's golden eyes glowed bright in the dim light. "They've tracked me here," she said, her voice low and tense. "The Hunters of Ash," Jack frowned. "Who are they?" "Remnants of a dying empire," she said. "They hunt my kind to steal our fire, our life." Suddenly, a beam of red light tore through the trees outside. The ground exploded, sending sparks and dirt flying against the window. Mia screamed, and Jack shielded her. "We have to move," he shouted. Lyra turned toward him, her cloak fluttering like wings. "I'll draw them away." Jack grabbed her arm. "You're not going alone," she looked at him, fire dancing in her eyes. "If they see you, they'll kill you." Jack's voice was steady. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Before Lyra could argue, the roof cracked and a massive claw slammed through the wood. The creature attached to it wasn't human, a tall, armored being with red glowing eyes and dark scales. It roared, its voice metallic. "We have found you, Flamekeeper!" Lyra pushed Mia behind her, her voice low. "Stay down!" Then, with a deep breath, she exhaled. Fire. Real fire. Bright gold and white. The flames exploded, throwing the creature backward through the wall. Jack stared in awe, the air around them glowing like molten glass. Lyra's form shifted slightly, her skin glowing with faint scales, her power breaking free. But there were more of them. Figures emerged from the smoke, tall, armed, fast, energy rifles flashed, beams of red slicing through the air. Lyra deflected one with her arm, sparks flying as it grazed her shoulder. She gritted her teeth. "Jack, take Mia and run!" He hesitated. I'm not leaving you. Do it, she shouted, her voice carrying both fury and fear. Jack scooped up Mia and ran toward the back door, the air filled with smoke and heat. Behind him, he heard Lyra roar, not a scream, but a sound that shook the ground. He glanced back for just a second and saw her surrounded by fire, her eyes blazing like suns. She wasn't human at all. She was a dragon. Her wings unfolded from her back, made of light and flame, her body glowing gold and red. Every movement sent shockwaves through the burning air. Outside, Jack stumbled through the forest, clutching Mia close. Branches cracked, trees burned. The night alive with chaos. Then, without warning, a bright light cut across his path. A shadow dropped from the sky. Another hunter. Larger than the rest, it grabbed Mia before Jack could react, lifting her off the ground. "Dad!" she screamed. Jack lunged, grabbing the creature's arm, pulling with all his strength, but it was no use. It threw him aside like he was nothing. He hit the ground hard, pain shooting through his side. "Mia!" he shouted, his voice breaking. Lyra appeared seconds later, landing in a burst of golden light. Her voice thundered, "Release her!" The creature laughed. "The flame belongs to us." It raised a weapon, pressing it against Mia's small chest. Jack's vision blurred with rage and terror. Lyra's eyes glowed white, brighter than the stars. "Touch her," she whispered, "and you burn." The air exploded. A wave of golden fire swept through the clearing, melting armor, burning the trees. The hunter screamed, dropping Mia. Jack crawled forward, pulling his daughter into his arms, holding her tightly. Behind him, Lyra and the remaining hunters clashed. Her claws cut through their armor, her fire burning through their machines. But there were too many. One of them fired a dark energy blast that struck her in the chest. Lyra fell to one knee, her flames flickering. Jack looked around desperately, his heart racing. He saw one of her broken crystals lying in the dirt, glowing faintly blue. He remembered her words, "It controls my power." Without thinking, he grabbed it and shouted, "Lyra, catch!" She raised her hand weakly, the crystal landing in her palm. The moment it touched her skin, the fire around her erupted brighter than ever. Wings of pure light unfolded again, her roar shaking the ground in one sweeping motion. She unleashed her full power. The remaining hunters screamed as their weapons melted and their ships ignited in midair. The forest became a sea of gold and flame, but somehow the fire didn't touch Jack or Mia. When the light faded, the clearing was silent. Smoke drifted through the air, the ground black and scorched. Lyra stood in the center, breathing hard, her glow fading. Jack ran to her, holding Mia tightly. "It's over," he said. His voice trembling, Lyra smiled weakly. For now, her knees gave way and Jack caught her before she fell. He could feel her skin burning hot, her pulse weak. "You saved us," he whispered. Her eyes flickered. "No, you saved me, human." Jack shook his head. "We saved each other," she smiled faintly, closing her eyes. "Then maybe there's hope after all." And as the wind blew through the charred trees, carrying sparks into the night sky, Jack looked up, at the stars, at the fire, at the woman who was both danger and salvation. And for the first time, he truly believed that even a carpenter could change the fate of something greater than himself. The legacy of flame. The forest was silent after the battle. Ash floated through the air like snow, glowing faintly in the fading light. The once green valley was now a sea of smoke and gold embers. Jack stood in the middle of it all, holding Mia close, watching the golden fire slowly die. Beside him, Lyra knelt weakly, her cloak torn, her body covered in shimmering scales that dimmed with every breath. Her wings, once bright as the sun, now flickered faintly like candlelight. Jack knelt beside her, his voice shaking. "You need help. We can get you somewhere safe." She smiled softly, her golden eyes tired but kind. "There is nowhere safe for me now." Mia held her hand, tears in her eyes. "Please don't go." Lyra brushed the girl's cheek gently. "Little one, the fire inside you burns bright. You will be strong." Jack shook his head. "There has to be a way." Lyra looked up at the dark sky where the last of the hunter ships vanished beyond the clouds. "The heart ember is broken beyond repair," Archie whispered. "The power that saved us will consume me soon." Jack gritted his teeth. "Then let me help. I can fix things, that's what I do." Lyra smiled sadly. "You fix wood and stone, Jack Turner, not souls made of fire." He looked at her, his eyes full of stubborn determination. "Maybe not, but I can try." She stared at him for a long moment, and then something inside her softened. Her voice was quiet, almost tender. "Your kind never stop trying, do they?" He smiled faintly. "Not when it matters." She closed her eyes, the golden light in her chest glowing brighter for a moment. "Then perhaps this is how it's meant to end." Before he could speak, she pressed her hand to his heart. The warmth spread through him instantly. Not burning, but alive. "Mia," she said softly, "take your father's hand." The little girl did as she was told, her small fingers trembling. A soft wind moved through the clearing, carrying golden sparks that circled them like stars. Lyra's voice was barely a whisper now. "The fire that lives within me will not die. It will live through you." Jack felt a pulse of light move through his chest, deep and strong. It was as if something ancient had awakened inside him. Lyra smiled faintly. "You have my flame now. Both of you." Mia's eyes widened as a golden mark appeared on her wrist, a small spiral of light that shimmered like a dragon's eye. Jack's chest glowed faintly in response. "What is this?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. Lyra's gaze softened. "A promise. One flame can light 1,000 more. Never forget that." Her wings slowly began to dissolve into light, breaking apart into glowing fragments that rose into the sky. Mia cried out, reaching for her. "Don't go!" Lyra smiled, her voice calm and peaceful. "I will never be gone, little one. Every time you light a fire, I will be there." Jack's vision blurred as the light grew brighter. He could barely see her now, just a figure made of gold and flame, surrounded by the ashes of her fallen kind. And then, with a soft sound like a sigh, she was gone. The wind carried her light across the sky, scattering it among the stars. For a long time, no one spoke. Mia held on to her father, her tears mixing with the falling ash. Jack whispered softly, "Goodbye, Lyra." The air around them still shimmered faintly with warmth, as if her presence lingered, watching, protecting. Days turned into weeks. The forest slowly began to heal. New plants sprouted through the ashes, small flowers bloomed, and the land grew green again. Jack rebuilt his workshop from the remains of their home. It wasn't easy, but Mia helped, her hands steady and sure despite her young age. At night, they would light a fire, and Jack would carve, while Mia told stories of the dragon lady with golden eyes. Every time the flames flickered, he swore he saw her smile in them. Years passed, and the world changed. Mia grew older, taller, her eyes bright with that same spark Lyra had once seen in her. She became a builder like her father, but not of wood alone. She built bridges, towers, and machines powered by light. When people asked her where she learned such things, she would smile and say, "From my dad and someone who believed in us." One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Mia stood outside the old workshop. Now surrounded by trees and flowers, she looked up at the stars, her wrist still glowing faintly with the mark Lyra had left. A voice called behind her, "Mia, time to come in." She turned to see her father, older now, with silver hair but the same kind eyes. He smiled. "You still watching the sky?" Mia grinned. "Yeah, just saying hi to Mom." Jack chuckled softly, walking beside her. She'd like that. They stood in silence for a moment, the firelight from the house flickering behind them. And then Mia pointed upward, her eyes wide. "Look," she whispered. Far above, two golden lights moved slowly across the stars, intertwining like wings of flame. Jack felt warmth spread through his chest. The same warmth he'd felt all those years ago. He smiled softly, whispering, "She's watching." Mia nodded, her eyes shining. She always is. As the night deepened, the stars shimmered brighter. The wind carried a soft whisper, the echo of a voice they both knew. The flame never dies. It only changes form. And somewhere among the stars, two lights burned side by side, one gold, one blue, dancing together forever. The legacy of fire, love, and humanity lived on, not in the heavens above, but in the hearts that dared to believe.